Thank you, everyone, for joining Verta's podcast. Special guest, this is Mike Kessner. Special guest today, we often have industry leaders, attorneys, private equity, titans of industry, real estate. And I realized a few weeks ago that we have, if not the best, one of the best leaders in the insurance industry, Collin Chlebak, that runs our real estate insurance practice. So we're lucky to have Collin at Vertus, and thought it would be very interesting to interview one of our very own. So Collin, thank you so much. You're usually interviewing people in the real estate world on your coffee podcast, but turning the tables on you a bit. Where are you at this Friday morning?
Friday morning, I am in Kansas City. I would like to say it's beautiful and crisp 70 degrees, but it's about 45 and rainy. So I'm sitting in the friendly confines of my office, just trying to wrap up the week and prepare for next week. So thanks so much for having me on, Mike.
Pleasure. So there are so many people in our industry. How did you get involved focusing primarily in real estate, and then, digging deeper in real estate? Why don't you tell everyone, how you got involved in the real estate industry, and then kind of peeling back the onion into the actual deep dive into certain areas of real estate?
Yeah, so thanks. So I've always kind of had a passion for real estate, construction, building things, seeing things being built and landscapes change. I worked in, it seems like a lifetime ago, but I worked in politics in Dallas for a member of Congress, and played an instrumental role in kind of getting funds for some of the revitalization of the urban core in downtown and south of downtown. And to see a city transform, or a part of town transform, was always something that I loved. And real estate is something that my mind just kind of clicked with. My father was in the insurance industry, and one of his really good friends was a property broker. And so that was kind of my first interactions in the property and casualty arena. And I just became fascinated. So I kind of grew up listening to talking about insurance and premiums and things like that around the kitchen table, which is pretty dorky, but I was lucky enough to get connected with our CEO, Andrew Gray, and he also had some wins in the real estate arena. And I came to him very shortly after joining and said, look, I'm kind of infatuated with this. I want to commit myself to real estate. We had some wins in the multifamily arena, and I said, particularly apartments, multifamily, habitational assets is where I kind of see my trajectory and growth path. And I want to, commit myself to learning about the industry and really being an expert in the insurance arena. And, fast forward 7-8 years, and here we are.
Very, very cool. And so a couple questions. So focus multifamily, 2 questions. How many units ballpark are you guys insuring now? And then, you have some large clients, very well-known, respected. What's the differentiator also, kind of 2-pronged? How many units ballpark? And then what's the differentiator for a powerful team that you lead that continues to just add on clients?
Yeah. No, thank you. When I joined, we had one real estate client of scope here in the Kansas City MSA. It was about 3,000 units. We insured probably about 10 or 15,000 square feet of commercial real estate, and office and retail locations. And today, that number is rapidly approaching the 400,000 mark. So it's probably in the 375, 380 arena. I haven't checked the latest figures, but call it 375,000 units in the multifamily arena, stretching from your most difficult Section 8 affordable assets, Section 42, your LIHTC and rural housing components, all the way up to your Class A. Being from Chicago, we have some stuff right down there on the Lake Shore, the high-rise luxury Class A that's got a perfect view of Lake Michigan to, some of the probably roughest neighborhoods of inner city Detroit. So we kind of grew the business or the practice by committing ourselves to a real estate vertical, and specifically habitational, that there's only so many people in Kansas City that we can call on. So we work with some and have for many years, and there are others that we don't. But we call on them and know them, and maybe someday they'll be a client, maybe someday they never will. But we go out and we really go all across the country in a car or fly and get in front of owners and operators of the middle market space is what we define it as. And people from 1,000 units to 10,000 units. And certainly we have outliers on both ends of that spectrum. I think our smallest client probably 350 units, and our largest is 25,000. So,
gotcha.
But that's kind of what we do. We try to play where some of the larger publicly traded big box name stores are not spending their time. We believe that we have the same level of expertise. I believe better, candidly, but than those big firms. But we deploy it at a level where people don't have on-site risk management, where they don't have somebody who is an insurance expert on staff, and we can actually be a partner and provide value as opposed to just schlepping insurance and going and providing some quotes.
Right. And differentiator, it seems so obviously, besides, the grit and the hard work and the technical expertise. I mean, you have a team that's, 8 and 12 people. And
yeah,
big firms don't even have that.
We're approaching 20 people on the team at this point. I am certainly lead it and involved in from every aspect of the practice, but the real pros and the real, secret sauce is the dedication and hard work and expertise of the people on the team. And we try to pride ourselves on doing a really good job of understanding people on the front end, right? It's, like I said, not just a quote shop. We don't think that provides a lot of value to us or to our prospects and clients. So we spend a lot of time, I think, getting to know people and understanding what their goals are from an insurance placement and, procurement process, as well as what their risk management, their appetite is. And where we, today has been a very hard property market for the past, 4 years. The casualty market has rapidly hardened even at a quicker pace. And we're constantly picking up new business because we approach and look at the market differently and people's portfolios differently than I think many of their incumbent brokers. So,
no, it makes sense. I've talked to friendly competitors in our industry at some of the, call it publicly traded or firms with thousands of employees. Their real estate practice might have 20 people like yours, but it's 11 different areas of real estate where, you guys are more inch wide, miles and miles deep. And do you find that might be part of the reason why you're, landing just some, premium clients throughout the country? I mean, it's not all your good looks.
Yeah, I would say it's none of my good looks, obviously. I mean, the rest of the team looks better than me. No, I would say that, yes, I think you're 100% right. I think that people feel like they get stuck on this merry-go-round with brokerage relationships. And I think in general, one of the things that we always have to overcome is this perceived notion that, we're just trying to win the business on day one. And one of the things that we're always doing is not figuring out how we can win the business initially, but how do we win the business every time we pick up the phone, every acquisition they have, every renewal, right? And I will, in our internal meetings, right, I will really push our teams to say, okay, this is how we looked at it last year. This was what they ended up buying, but how do we improve upon this, right? And we know that we're going to be met with resistance in the marketplace, but how can we be creative to find solutions that are going to work better for our clients? And that's where I think we really separate ourselves from a lot of folks out there. In general, in the real estate arena 5 years ago when it was a soft market, there was one play, right? And it was an economies of scale approach and combine everything, every asset you have, and then go throw it out to the market. And, back then we'd had 5 to 10 carriers lined up trying to buy the business, right? Today, the appetite of the carrier marketplace is so finite. It's so small that any one asset or any one claim or any one thing can totally say, look, we don't want to write this schedule, right? And they're not given the same credit. They're not buying business from each other, not undercutting each other. So how do we do it? So we look at it and say, yeah, you got $1 billion or $2 billion worth of real estate. We should certainly look at it together, but we should also look at it and chop it up into different tranches, right? Whether it's geographic footprint or construction type, asset class from affordable market rate, all these different things, because all these carriers' appetites have become so finite that, they won't give you the most competitive rate unless you give it to them the way that they want to see it, right? And so we're really, in our renewals and our marketing efforts are running, 3 and 4 parallel paths where I think a lot of people have felt like they've been stuck on the merry-go-round, and they're like, well, we got 15% increase last year and we're primed to get 10% this year, where we're bringing flat renewals. We broke up a master program here about 3 months ago that was $2 billion in TIV, total insured value there. And the master program versus what we actually rolled out was savings of $350,000. It also reduced deductible exposure. So it was a slam dunk, easy win. But the broker has to be able and willing to dive down and into the weeds and chop it up the way that the carriers want to see it.
And so to that point, so there's, let's say there's someone, Mike Kessner out there with 3 partners, and we own, 10,000, 15,000 units. And we're just, what are, for firms like that, really your typical client, what are the 1 or 2 areas in the insurance that they don't pay attention to? They don't know what they don't know until hopefully they meet you, or there are other really good people out there, but not that many.
Yeah, I would say that there's a couple of things, right? Like, you got 10, 15,000 units, you've done a great job doing something, right? And you probably have your head, you've got some ideas of what's working, what's not. What we find is that people who have acquired 10 to 15,000 units over the past couple of years, right, they were buying insurance one way, and the market, like I said, has evolved so drastically that they're just on this one train, one train of thought path here, and opening their horizon, saying, yeah, the way you've been doing it might be working efficiently, but we should really check these other areas. We also are very big into bringing in, depending on people's risk tolerance, right? Do you want to, how do you want to insure this, right? Like, if costs are rising and you've been, what can we do? What mechanisms can we do to put in place to allow you to take on more risk without actually doing it, like insulating yourself? So, we find that there is huge economies of scale with rolling out programs, renters insurance. You can use captive-based programs. ideally people in that arena, that 10 plus thousand unit range, really, they may have been using their property management software, this and that. We can actually in-house take it over, and, many times double the revenue generated, and also create some insulation so that if you're buying a $25K deductible, now you can buy 100 or 125 for basically, and have basically the same exposure. You can get some cost compression from the carriers that way. You could do the same thing in a captive-based program and roll some of your wind hail exposure through that. And that's what we've been doing for a lot of people in the tornado alley, where we are from Kansas City down to Texas, the convective storm states, trying to find ways to approach it more strategically. Carriers are, many times, I think what really is probably the number one is the wind hail, is that 5 years ago, they were getting $25K wind hail deductibles. Today in Texas, it's, 2 to 3%. Kansas many times is 1% now. Nebraska 1 to 2, Oklahoma 3, Denver 5% is become the norm. And so the carrier marketplace has pushed on more and more exposure to the insureds, to our clients, and some of them know, but many times they don't understand what that 5% deductible is. And so we say, okay, what's the cost of your roof? And you're probably, in general, right, self-insuring your roof at 2 and 2.5% of the TIV of that location. So if you're self-insuring it at 2% or 2.5%, right, you're better, in my mind, many times to increase it to 5% and take the cost compression from the rate of increasing, taking that extra exposure off of the carrier, and then putting another mechanism in place to cover that wind hail exposure, yep. Right? What's the true cost? We can set up deductible reserve accounts. We have commercial roofing partners that, we've got a partnership here in Kansas City that with DHI Roofing, that they'll estimate the entire roof cost for us so that we can really dig in there and say, okay, here's what your true roof exposure is. You've got 5% for tornado, and this is how we make a more effective property program, and many times lower the cost. So
I would say it's pretty evident one of the main reasons for your success is it comes across in about 10 seconds, A, your passion for the real estate industry, and B, your knowledge. So again, putting myself in the shoes of if I'm, one of the partners in a big real estate firm and I talk to you for 20 seconds, it comes across where, the typical insurance broker, hey, Bob, you want to come to my club and play golf? Can I give you tickets to the Cub game? Hey.
Look, I'll play golf with anybody. I'm not very good. So I haven't been able to lean on that to grow the business. I love to play, but I'm not very good. I have always tried to separate myself because I am passionate about what I do. I love what I do. And I think when we provide true value to our clients, those are relationships that we have, for years and years to come. So a lot of our clients become friends and everything else. And I love to really sit down and figure out if there's a better way of doing something. That's where I'm very passionate.
Makes sense. Potentially, why don't you touch on potential in the future, other verticals within real estate? I believe I've heard you say potentially, you might get 5 or 10 people to focus just on student housing, on all the rental homes that's becoming so popular. Are those potentially 1 or 2 areas where you could see adding 5, 10, 15 people throughout the next several years?
Yeah, I think there's really 3 big areas, and you named 2 of them, right? Right now, because deals are trading at such crazy rates, and any of our clients and anybody in real estate right now would agree with that. I mean, deals that were trading for $40,000 a unit, 3 years ago are, $180,000 a unit almost in some markets here. I mean, it's sometimes more. It's crazy, and so. And the returns keep coming, the rent growth keeps coming. even in markets like Kansas City, a tertiary market, right? Not a Dallas or Denver or Chicago market. But where we see a lot of growth and have seen huge growth is in bigger units, right? Post-COVID, people moving out of the city cores, wanting more space in a 3-bedroom, close to, 1,500 square feet unit. They've also started buying more houses, right? Or buying rental homes and buying more of the townhomes, something that has a bit of a yard, things like that. And so a lot of firms of scope have started buying up portfolios of single family homes. We've got a couple people that are already dedicating themselves to that. We've, the student, you mentioned student, that's probably the other that we have a couple people focusing in today that is newer sub vertical industry expertise verticals for us. And then the number three would be hospitality. And I actually thought that COVID was, I'll admit it, I thought COVID was going to make a lot more of these hospitality deals trade because of, how hard they were hit during the pandemic. But nonetheless, there's just so many out there. We pride ourselves today on saying we, in the habitation, we're going to do anything with a head and a bed. So hotels, motels, boutique hotels, we do a lot of that as well. Student housing, senior living, and the single family. So that's, we're really growing big in single family student within the next year.
Very, very cool. A couple final questions. What are you going to do, and when's this going to happen when you hit a million units? Knowing you and your team, it's going to happen in, 2-3 years. When do you think it's going to happen, 1 million units, and what are you going to do for your team?
Yeah, if it takes longer than 2 years, I'm going to be really frustrated now. We will do something really fun. We pride ourselves, or ideas that they're all team wins, right? We think of most organizations, I think, get stuck in this sales versus service mentality. I think it's just a nature of our business. Our industry. We have done a really good job at Virtus building the culture and changing that dynamic. I think we spearhead that movement in the real estate arena, where we think that everyone services a client and everyone helps bring in a client, right? So the business, the client development, and the client success, we think, are shared duties amongst everyone on the team, and that's with our claims department, our loss control. We think that everybody is doing the same role, and whether that person calls to pick up the phone to have the first conversation with me, or they're calling to say, hey, we had a claim, and to talk to Lori or somebody on the claims management staff, we view that as an opportunity to either win business or retain business every day. And there'll certainly be some prizes, some cash, some trips, and things like that when we really blow it out of the water.
Yeah, you guys, that is definitely another strength for your team, which is very fun. Next, last but not least, why don't you give, because I'm sure some of your friends and clients will listen to the podcast, give an update on family.
Well,
you're also busy, you get home and then your day really starts. So why don't you
That's right. Well, I've got a beautiful wife who really is the CEO of the household and takes care of all that. She's great. We've got 2 boys. Harvey is going to be 7 in 2 weeks. Sully is 5. And then we've got our baby girl, Monroe. Last night, we had trunk or treat for the school. We all dressed up as Star Wars. I went to Home Depot last week and got some foam paneling that you would put in your basement for insulation, cut it down and fashioned a Millennium Falcon that sit over the wagon so that Monroe, our baby girl, dressed up as Baby Yoda, didn't have to walk. I went as Han Solo. My wife went as Princess Leia. And then we had Harvey as Luke Skywalker and Sully as Chewbacca. So this weekend it's about family fun. We're going to carve some pumpkins and get out there and trick or treat this weekend. But, our typical weekends are filled with soccer, baseball, or junior golf or something like that. Getting them started earlier because I don't want them to be a hack like their dad. And just enjoying life.
Awesome. Well, great. I don't want to, I know you're probably itching to get on some conference calls with some prospects and run around the office talking to your team. So definitely fun and blessed to have you as a partner. My daughter gets the honor. My daughter works with the queen of residential real estate throughout the country, and I'm lucky I get to work with the king, the hammer.
I don't know about that.
Insurance for multifamily. So the Kessners are lucky, and thank you so much for joining us, Collin.
Mike, I'm the lucky one. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. Really enjoyed chatting with you today, and I'm lucky to have you as a partner in the business as well.
Cool. Have a great weekend, bud.
All right, you too.